Welcome to part 2 of my entire build for my Javelin AMX. So hopefully at this point you've already watched part 1, or you've already watched all the actual individual videos of the build to know kind of where we're at starting at this point right here. Like I said at the end of part 1, this is kind of this is like the second half, like really the second half, when most of the stuff that I need to get taken off the car has already been taken off, and I'm starting to put new components back on the car to actually get it drivable. And this video does really cover a lot, and some of it I'm going to spend more time on. I'm not going to spend as much time explaining certain things like my torque flight transmission. We went through a whole process of rebuilding it and whatever, and the first time it ever actually drove was with that transmission. But since things didn't really work out of the transmission and went a completely different route, I'm not really going to focus a whole lot of time on that. So if you've watched these videos before and for some reason you're watching this recap, just know that that's why I didn't spend a lot of time on that. But if you do want to go more in depth and you want to know the why to a lot of these things, why I made the choices that I did, or why I had to do the things that I did, I do recommend you go back and watch those actual videos. But either way, thank you for watching this. If you like this video, please subscribe, leave a comment. I appreciate the support, guys. Enjoy the video. I'm kind of at a point where I can sort of start focusing on the transmission, which is one of the last big projects, but there's a ton of other small stuff to do, as you can see by the little list that I made here. We're going to be hopefully putting in the 401 today, at least putting it on the cross member. I don't have any of these things, but we're going to hopefully finish and bleed the brakes. There's the door hinges and a couple of these other smaller things, maybe even the radiator, I'm not really sure. So basically my point is I'm going to be trying to get as much of those small things done as possible so I can just focus on doing the transmission. Before we get too into this video, I just wanted to go back in time a little bit here. This was shortly after we took the engine out of the Javelin. My initial hopes was that the engine could get unstuck. It wasn't able to turn over by hand, so I tried to do a few things to get the pistons unstuck, but they were really jammed in there. We took it out and started disassembling everything, and then from there the plan was to bring it to a machine shop and get everything checked out, make sure it's all good before you start dumping a bunch of money into an engine. So that was pretty much the plan here. I dropped off the crank, I dropped off the block, and I dropped off the connecting rods with a machine company that's pretty local to me. They are a shop that AZ AMC Restorations uses all the time for all of their like initial rebuild stuff, like all the actual machine work. They're called King Balancing, and they're in Glendale, Arizona. So I dropped off everything there. They said everything checked out fine. Then I dropped off a lot of other small things with Dan Curtis at AZ AMC Restorations, because he's going to be doing the other part of this. And we kind of hashed out everything that I'm going to do with the build. So I'm going to be doing forged pistons, which are the Wiseco pistons. It should be running really close to 10-to-1, maybe just under. I'm going to be using Edelbrock aluminum heads, the aluminum Offenhauser 360 dual port, like split runner thing. I don't know, my brain's not working, but it's basically a single plane intake. You've seen it already, I'm sure. Anyway, so I'm using that. I have a Holley Avenger 670 CFM carburetor that I'm going to use instead of the Edelbrock. And now I'm starting to wonder if maybe it's going to be a little on the small side with the rest of the build. So we'll just see what happens with that. And then the cam that I'm going to go with is a Lunati 10100 with the intake manifold that I have. That will probably be the limiting factor on this whole build. that's going to be the kind of the bottleneck, I think. But I should still hopefully be making somewhere between like 430, 450 horsepower at the crank without accessories. I guess we'll find out eventually. I'd love to get the car on a dyno when it's all set up and ready to go, but I just wanted to make sure that I actually said it. That's what the whole build's gonna be. Today, the engine is actually gonna be coming home, and it's gonna be reunited, and it feels so good with the Javelin. So I'm here waiting for Dan Curtis to come drop off the engine. We're gonna put on this stand right here, and it's kind of just gonna hang out here until, you know, I'm ready to actually drop it in, which really shouldn't take too long. I need to drill a hole for an O2 sensor in one of the headers, and I need to do some modifications to one of the motor mounts because of the headers. So I'm gonna have to do that, but then the engine can actually go in there, and it'll probably just end up sitting for a little bit because as I stated, I think in this video, I need a starter still to attach to the transmission, which is over here. So anywho, that's what's happening right now. Here it is, guys. I finally got the 401 back from the engine shop. There it is. Oh my God, I am so excited about this. Got the MSD blaster coil on there. This is a Summit HEI on it. It's going to be controlled by the MSD black ignition box. I have the Summit 8601 cam in it. Got the Offenhauser Equiflow 360. Edelbrock aluminum heads. Holley Street Avengers 670 CFM carb. They were nice enough to get this all tuned up and ready to go. They already had it on the engine running, so that'll be ready to go when I get everything in the car and running. Looks pretty nice with the plug wire management and everything. Looks nice and organized like it should. Got a nice water pump on it. This is pretty much the biggest single thing that needs to be done on the car, and now it's done. It's sitting right here in front of me, and I can't even express how awesome this is. Did was just keep moving it back and forth, kind of wiggling it in. Oh, there, now Ivan's showing up. But I pretty much got it where I need it. I just need to move it back a little bit and start wiggling it into place. Show up when all the hard work's done. See how it is. Okay, Ivan is here. We actually had to make some adjustments to actually get it to fit down into the cross member. Basically what we just had to do is attach the actual motor mounts to the brackets that are on the engine, and then just set everything down into the cross member. So everything is now officially in. The engine is in the engine bay. It's home. Hopefully, it's home. Hopefully we don't have to pull it out a million times for whatever reason. there's a bunch of little things that we can do today. So I'm gonna probably start on the brake stuff. We need to just tighten up a lot of fittings, and we need to get there's a line over there that goes from the front of the car to the back, and we're gonna possibly get that going. Maybe get some brake fluid in it and get the brakes working. That'd be pretty cool. Okay, Randy showed up. He's looking up stuff on his phone. I'm trying to figure out some stuff with the accessories. It's changing from what it was before in the way that I'm actually not going to be putting the air conditioner back in right away, and I'm not going to be using the air pump anymore. So I've been trying to look at some pictures online and everything to try to figure out how everything actually goes in here. I have a lot of the original hardware still, so that shouldn't be an issue. But if I can actually get this figured out, then I can mount the actual power steering reservoir with the new pulley and everything. I let this dry just a little bit, put the new pulley on there, so that's there. Ivan, what'd you got the
brakes?
The brake line going all the way to the back, right?
Yep.
So he's got that, but then
and you gotta get the rubber line.
He's swinging that piece in his hand because he's gonna
redo this.
He's gonna redo it, yeah.
Gonna Ivanize it.
Yeah. So then that has to be done, and then we can do
finish brakes.
Yeah, bleeding the brakes and everything, getting brakes operable. Kind of mock this up a little bit. It seems like that's gonna need a little kick or two in order to get that where it needs to be. I got this Z bracket from a guy off of Facebook, and I believe this bracket would work just fine if it weren't for me having the aftermarket Edelbrock heads. I think that the surface here, it's just not out as far. Like when we had this in here loose, this looked like it was a good 1/4 inch, maybe even 1/2 inch too short. You can tell kind of just by looking at it right here, you can see it's like bending sort of, like it's not quite long enough. So to remedy that, I'm just gonna put some washers in here or something, or you know, something to space that away from the heads a little bit. I think once it's pushed out a little bit, hopefully it'll be better. But yeah, I don't know. So there's that to deal with, and then, you know, obviously when that's all done, I can finally move on to the radiator and all that. But it's gonna have to sit for a little while. Ivan does have the transmission. We actually were able to load it in the back of his little Dart, surprisingly. So he's gonna get started on that. He can take his time on that. I'm not super, you know, I'm not really worried about that getting done right away. The one thing that I have done is get started on the racing harness. So I got that mostly installed. Then I realized, thanks to someone that obviously has dealt with these before, that you can't really have the harness like this. The guy online was actually saying that you can't have it on the floor at all. If you look at my other video, you'll see a little bit more detail about what I did here. I made this rear seat delete out of cardboard. And I made a little hole there for this bolt, and now I'm realizing that I can't actually use that spot. If you look in the directions, they specifically say not to use the outside position on the floor. And for some reason with this 3-point harness, they only want you to use the hole closer to the middle. But anyways, what I need to do is try to figure out how to move that anchor point over to that side, and then I believe I'll be good. And I need to make some more adjustments to kind of make this fit a little bit better. And I think everything is how it should be now. Double checking the instructions. That is a proper anchor point right there. I got this adjusted about as well as I think I can get it. Got it pretty snug and everything. Thankfully, everything is just barely within reach with a harness on. It's probably gonna get old pretty quickly, so I give that about a year and I'll probably get rid of it. Got Randy and Ivan here today. Check that shit out. We're due to a mistake that I made with thread measuring. The holes are actually, or the bolts are actually 3/8, So I measured that wrong. That explains why everybody was like, I'm pretty sure it's 3/8, because, well, it was. So we're drilling it out to be bigger. And then Randy and I are starting work on the doors. We're gonna get these off of the actual hinges and then do what we gotta do there. New pins, new bushings. And then when the door is actually off, I think I'm gonna get started on some of the actual door stuff, or window stuff, so the window doesn't wiggle around and whatnot anymore.
You think that rack can fall through the into the engine would be okay?
Stuff falling into the engine's always good.
Yeah.
Extra compression. All right, so Randy and I got the door off. Randy got the spring off the top hinge. And now he's gonna be starting on basically trying to tap those pins out of there. And then we got the replacement ones. So hopefully this won't be like overly complicated, but now that I said it, it will be. So here we go. Here goes something. We got most of the accessories on, or pretty much everything except for the AC, which is not going to go on for a while, but there's a lot of random wiring stuff that still needs to happen. We do need specific stuff to properly bleed the master cylinder, so that'll be next time, but all the rest of the power, or the rest of the brake stuff is in, so that's good.
Brakes are done.
Yep, brakes are done.
All the hard lines are done.
We got the door completely ripped off, and some of it we were able to figure out, some of it we weren't. The design is just kind of wonky, because as far as I can tell, unless something's missing here, everything is based off of this, I don't know what you call it, the rod up here. So I replaced the plastic bushings that go on either side of this. And then there's a piece, where is it at? I can't remember. Oh, it's down here at the bottom. So down here, I replaced that also. So things do feel a little bit better now, a little more steady, but it does still rock back and forth. So I'm gonna look into that, see if there's anything I can do to fix that little bit. But it is better than it was before, so that's good. The radiator is here. Gonna wait until probably get belts and all that. Yeah, I really wanted to put it in, but he said I can't do it, so I'm just gonna have to cry about it instead. So the belts will go on, I guess. We'll get all that figured out. There still is some things to sort out here, like the hoses for the power steering and all that, so it would be nice to not have the radiator and other stuff here, just in case. So gonna get that sorted out. I have a few things coming in the mail still as far as that goes. Soon I'll probably at least bolt up the MSD box on the other side over there. I think that I don't even need the voltage regulator, because Ivan was saying that the alternator actually has a built-in voltage regulator, basically.
It's internally regulated.
So I may not actually need that, which would be nice, because it doesn't play nice with the MSD box, the voltage regulator. So things are coming together just very slowly. I didn't really touch the gauge cluster today. I will probably just get everything in there, get all the wires in, and then kind of try to like get that fed down somewhere, and then figure out how to get it into the engine bay. That's going to be a project for a different time. This is where we are on the list. There's only a few things left on this original list, and I'm probably just going to update this. That is a really good sign of progress being made, I think. There's a couple things that aren't on here that I'm going to add to my new list. And one of those things will be getting these gauges installed and the wiring routed roughly to where I want it. So I'll probably get it just routed down to the floorboard and then figure out how I'm gonna get it into the engine bay afterwards. I'm gonna do something similar with the MSD box. I believe I'm actually gonna mount it over here, like underneath the battery a little bit. I've been hearing that one of the easiest ways to prevent those MSD boxes from going bad is to put them near the front where there's a little more airflow, because you kind of put them back there and it's like a pocket. I just don't want the MSD box getting trapped back there and getting really hot and end up failing. So for the purpose of reliability and, you know, just planning things out better, I think I'm gonna put it either down here or over here. I figure over here because there's less fluids. So I'm gonna get that on there. I'm gonna try to maybe get a little bit of the wiring done. One of the things I really wanted to do though, there's the actual harness over here. I don't know if you can really see it, it's kind of dark. There's a lot of connectors in there. I want to try to make sure they're clean. Probably should have done that before I got the brake booster and all that stuff on there. Might take the hood latch or hood spring, whatever, off of there so I can get to it better, but I'd like to kind of like poke around in there, you know, maybe use like a wire brush of some kind, clean it out. And I'll also do the same to the wire harness, which I have up in my loft. So I'll just make sure all that's clean. There's a fuse panel that's under the dashboard. I can do the same thing, just kind of make sure it's clean. I do have I have new headlights, I have taillights, I have reverse lights. I have a lot of LED lights, basically. I'm trying to replace a lot of this stuff, at least on the outside of the car, with LEDs because it's brighter. Arizona is a very sunny place, and when you have the sun shining directly on the back, like your taillights, and you have the old incandescent light bulb style, it's dim, and the sun makes it basically impossible to see and really puts you at risk for getting rear-ended and stuff like that. So I'm trying to avoid that. There's really no rhyme or reason to what I'm gonna be doing first. I'm just trying to get done smaller things, so when I get Randy and or Ivan over here to help me, we can focus on the harder stuff that actually requires more than one person, or you know, it's just overall more difficult. So I'm trying to like knock out some of these smaller stupid things on my own time if I can. This is the actual connector that goes into the pigtail that I was just talking about. So this is pretty gross looking. This is basically what it looked like in the other side before I cleaned it. So I'm just gonna use that process, and I think it's gonna work out pretty good on this. There are a lot of sockets to clean out here, so I think I'm just gonna go one by one down to the end here, and I'm gonna try to spruce them up a little bit. Maybe I'll kind of clean up this wiring loom, if you want to call it that. It basically just looks like a ton of electrical tape. Lots of scrubbing and spraying later. This is what it looks like. Not too bad. Now to do the rest of it. Well, I don't have any fingerprints left thanks to the harsh chemicals, but you know, this thing, gosh darn it, it looks pretty good. It definitely has some patina to it. Wiring patina, that's gonna be the new thing, guys, I'm telling you. There's a little bit of you know, discoloration and all that, but you know, all these parts are roughly 50 years old, so I think we need to be nice to it. All right, something about this working in a hot shop makes you sweat. Just got the alternator belt on there, so looking good as far as that goes. A lot of this other stuff is just gonna have to wait until maybe tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow, tomorrow's my birthday. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. All right, I got the MSD box mounted. Excuse the little flakes of rust and whatnot. But I mounted it here under the evaporator, under the passenger side of the dashboard. I just wanted a good place to keep it out of the heat as much as possible, but also keep it out of the way. So what I'm gonna end up doing is probably making a little hole to the left of it here, and then put a grommet in the firewall and then just pass it through. I had to be careful because there's brake lines on the other side that I want to avoid, but that should be right there in that open spot there near the bottom, so it should be perfect. The hoses are in there, they fit pretty decently. Let's see, this one actually, it's a little tight, the low pressure hose. I think it's gonna be okay though. It's not like kinked or anything. I'm just being extra aware. This is kind of like a makeshift stereo. I got this idea from somebody on one of the AMC forums on Facebook. This is typically used for marine purposes, like boats. So the idea here is you plug this in and then you wire some speakers to it. This is a 4-channel, so it means in my case it would be 1 in each door and then 2 in the back. So that's all it can do, but I'm not really going for anything like wild or anything. It doesn't have to be a concert on the inside of my car, but if I could hear while I'm driving, that'd be pretty dope. I'm not gonna get into this right now too much. I'll talk more about this in a later video when this is actually more relevant. I just got some random stuff like little shrink things and soldering stuff and speaker wire and all that. So that will be coming up soon. So what I'm gonna do is start working on some more of the wiring. Try to get this figured out a little bit so maybe I can get power to the inside. And I don't know. I'm just gonna take it step by step. I don't have a whole lot of time, but I'll see what I can get done. I have a new shirt on, so you can only guess one thing. Last time didn't go so well. I got everything mostly wired up, or at least I thought so, until I looked at the actual wiring diagram, like I probably should have done in the first place. And I realized that I forgot a ground on the firewall. Now, I'm not claiming that that's gonna fix it, because I really doubt that it is, but there's a couple grounds here, or little loops here really close to the, I guess I'd just call this a bulkhead. I'm not entirely sure what these connect to. I don't know if, no, I'm not really sure. There's probably just a bolt hole somewhere. I don't know. It's supposed to go somewhere. Maybe that'll fix my problems. Like I said, I kind of doubt it. The one thing that was working was the horn relay. So every time I press the horn, it should do it now too. Oh wait, no, I have it disconnected, sorry. It would do it if I had the battery connected, for sure. But anyways, the horn relay clicks. So I have power all the way through there. I did try to figure out what was actually lighting up on the harness itself when I was checking, and I can't really tell. And I don't know. I couldn't find the diagram right away, so I'm gonna look in my book now while I'm waiting for Ivan and or Randy to get here. But the priority, I'm just gonna keep this short. The priority for today is getting the axle out. I need to get the entire axle out, which means, you know, obviously having to disconnect the leaf springs and all that good stuff. So I need to get that out, and then we need to get it loaded into the back of the truck, because tomorrow I am going to try to drop off the axle. So that has to happen at some point, and all the stuff that goes with it. All right, so we are in a process of taking the axle out, and Ivan's gonna try to bench press this and see if he can. It's gonna hit you in the head. Oh, he only got one side up.
You didn't do it on the other?
I don't think so. Do it again. Do it again. 3 times, man.
3 times.
3 reps. Yep. This is why men don't live very long.
Oh man, that's safe. Okay. Next side.
All crusty in its crusty glory. Another thing that I think I forgot to mention earlier is I fought getting the fuse block out. I think that it was probably part of my problem with not having any lights or anything on the dash. It's not 100% for sure just yet, but I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like. Look how corroded this is. These black specks are actually from when I was trying to use the wire wheel to get the tar off. So that's what that's from. But there's a big bracket, big connector here that goes on all these blades right here, and I was trying to get it off and it would not come off and broke all these blades here. So I need a brand new one of these. This one is in really bad shape, so I think that it might work a little bit better with a new panel. I don't know, just a guess. Just guessing here. I actually found a member on the Facebook group who was willing to sell me a new one of these and some wiring for like 20 bucks. So thank you very much for that help. You know who you are. Thanks. All right, so here is the rear axle. It's very dark out here, but this is going to the shop tomorrow to get totally rebuilt. I'm still debating whether I should get a new differential cover or not. I think that I'll be okay with that one. Maybe just blast it and put it back on there, something. I don't know, haven't decided. They did say that they might be able to increase the preload on the clutch pack, which is part of the reason why these are notorious for wearing out so quickly. I don't know if they're actually going to do it or not. I asked them if there's something besides, or like something between the factory setting and like chirping in tires when you go around a corner, and they seem to kind of like brush me off like, whatever, idiot, like that's not how it works, man. Like, I don't know. They basically just brushed me off though when I asked that, so I guess we'll see. Unfortunately, there's a lot of snags that I've been running into, and you're about to see in this video what kind of snags I'm talking about exactly, but it's a lot of electrical issues this time, and I'm starting to kind of just chase those and figure out what's going on and why I'm having problems. But this whole video is just kind of like one thing leads to another. It's just one thing after another, 2 steps back, 1 step forward, you know, that kind of thing. So without any further ado, let's just get into it, guys. All the wires that were connected to the fuse panel are now disconnected, and my goal here is to get them all loose and put new connectors on them. So I'm gonna probably extend the wires just a little bit to give me some future serviceability to those, and then they'll all get new spade connectors, and the female spade connectors, and they'll all connect to a brand new used fuse panel that I have on the way. I have my own little coating system that I stole from the fiber optic industry, and this will be back together exactly how it's supposed to be. I'm gonna have 0 problems whatsoever, for sure. 80% of this project is a first time for me. I haven't done the vast majority of these things before, so I'm feeling pretty confident in myself at this point. I've spent way too much time trying to spray some seafoam deep creep into this and get the light bulb out of the socket, but they are welded in with rust. Like, I don't know if you can see how much corrosion is there, but check out this other side. I tried pulling the bulb out, and the bulb pulled out of the metal base, and the metal base is stuck in there all mangled. I cannot for the life of me pull this out of here. So the next logical explanation is just get some off of Rock Auto. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. They're like $4 a piece on there. I'm just gonna get those. I'm gonna solder them up and call it good. Everything that was connected to the fuse panel has new connectors on it, and I've labeled everything, taken pictures beforehand, so this shouldn't be a big deal. There was an orange wire, this one up here, that was laying dead, just kind of hanging there. When I had everything hooked up and trying to get some lights on the dash, and I came to find out that it's very likely that wire is what gives you pretty much all the lights on the dash. So that is wired, I believe, correctly now. So this should all be good. This is all from the steering column, by the way. This is the turn signal switch where it goes into a harness underneath the dash, basically. So that is what all that stuff is. This is like an adapter harness, basically, to use this older style switch. Well, I should say this is the newer style here, going to the old style harness over here on the side of the column. Anyways, that's all figured out. I started on another thing at the same time, slightly related. I got new sockets for the reverse lights, which is these. I guess I'll pop it out. And I already popped the LED light in there, which is 1156 replacement. I had to kind of spread out those little connector things that basically grab onto the actual housing. It's still a little bit loose, so I might try to figure out some kind of solution for that. The other ones here, the brake lights, I just popped these out, cleaned them up a little bit, and then put the new LED lights in those. And now I am on to this side. I'm going to wire the new socket on this side and do the same thing with both of these, and then those should be good, hopefully. So I'm going in, cleaning up the ground wire on these also, because the ground wire connects to the actual outside of the socket, whereas these new ones are wired in, they're hardwired. So you don't have to worry about connectors getting dirty, which is nice. Did on the other one, I'm going to kind of just bend these back a little bit so I can have a little extra tension. Okay. Wiring comes over here. And you kind of just pop in place. Those go in there. Viola. Oh, nice and sweaty. You know, it's like 90 degrees in here and I'm using a heat gun. Anyways, what I was thinking about doing while I was doing all this stuff was I kind of want to like clean up some of this. I'm not going to go too crazy on this. I'm not doing restoration anything, so it's just not worth it. But what I was thinking is I might just clean this up really quick here, get all the loose stuff out, vacuum it up, and then I have some of that rust encapsulator, so I'm going to use some of that, and I'm just going to kind of make this look a little bit better, and you know, at least slow down some of the rot back here. That would be nice. So I'm going to do that really quick. It turns out I had one connector that wasn't wanting to cooperate, so I had to redo that one. I'm getting ready to plug it in right now, and then it's going to be the moment of truth. Still nothing. Well, I think I have everything plugged in. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't know. Nothing to the turn signals. Don't hear anything. I did some internet research and asked around on the pages on Facebook and whatnot, and it turns out that I had a bad fuse. Now, I'm not really sure why that is just yet, but it looks like it's because I didn't have the little dimmer switch, the foot dimmer switch thing on the floor. I didn't have it plugged in. So I plugged that in, and I'm gonna replace this fuse, and I'm gonna see what happens. The fuse that blew was the one that controls the backup lights, and I think that it's tied into the headlights and everything too. I'm not totally sure, but probably can't see that, but it definitely burnt out the fuse. So I just plugged that fuse in. I'm gonna hook up the battery really quick. Put this on here. Okay. Let's take a gander here. Yep, still nothing. Hold on. I don't see anything yet. So there's 4 toggles total up here. I'll just show you those really quick. So there was the 2 that were plugged in there, and then there's the 2 over here. There's one for wipers, and then there's one for the washer. I'm gonna replace both of those also while I'm in there. I'm getting ready to basically just put everything in there. So when everything does finally come in, it's just going to be a matter of installing everything. And that'll be the next part of this whole electrical odyssey. I did learn in the process of everything that you have to have the headlights on in order to have the panel lights on. Makes sense, right? But they're basically fed through each other somehow, or the panel lights basically get their light or the power from the headlight switch, I believe. Something goofy like that's going on. So I guess we'll see how that whole thing turns out. And then there's a printed circuit, they call it. It's behind the dash. I have mentioned it before, but I'm gonna have to go ahead and replace that also. And there was a used one or two that I did find, but I just decided, since I got a really smoking deal on all these switches, I just decided to go ahead and get a brand new circuit for that. I'm just trying to eliminate potential issues. You know, the circuit that goes behind the dash, it's originally a flimsy design. Somebody basically re-engineered the whole thing and they're making them, so that's really cool and very uncommon for AMCs to have somebody do something like that. So I'm happy about that. I'd like to just get everything working. Lights, you know, that would be nice. Previously, I had a problem with a circuit blowing. You can't really see super well. There's a fuse that's missing up in there, and that's the one that kept blowing, and it's for the turn signals and the reverse lights. Now, I know the reverse lights aren't gonna work. I'm pretty sure they're not gonna work until I get the neutral safety switch and all that plugged in. So I'm not super concerned, but I am concerned about the fuse that's blowing over and over again. So if I could at least get that part fixed, that would be good for that. I did in a previous video also find that there was a wire that was cut right there. So I'm actually waiting on the connector still for that. And then that'll go back together and it'll actually go in this connector right over here, this black one right here. And then hopefully that'll fix that short circuit issue that I was having with that. Then the other problem was I didn't appear to get any power to the headlights. So that was another thing. I don't entirely know why. It's really hard for me to tell. I don't have like a really good way of testing electrical circuits for a lot of stuff. So it's been kind of weird. Plus I just don't really have a good knowledge on electrical systems. I'm kind of just picking up things as I go. But I do have a new foot switch that is coming. It goes down there where that harness is, kind of just laying there. So I have a brand new one of those, and then there's the actual toggle switch that goes here to turn them on and off. That's where a lot of the power comes through, I believe. So I have a new one of those coming. I have a new dimmer, and basically all these toggles up here are going to get replaced. And then I'm actually going to probably take the gauge pack out and everything. Like, this whole dash basically just needs to come apart at this time. So right now, I am just going to focus on getting this apart and ready for the new parts to be installed when they actually do come in. So let's get started. Let's see if I can pull this out. Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, buddy. About what I expected, I guess. Okay, this is almost ready. I think maybe it is ready. I have one screw left on the top here. It's one thing I have been avoiding doing this entire time. This is the moment I've been dreading. I'm afraid there's going to be some nasty stuff in here. I hate dead things. Woo. Cruster. I have the gauge cluster taken out. I have pretty much all the dash except for that lower middle console area out. There's a lot of crusty things in immediate view, so you can guess as to why none of this dash stuff is working. It's because I pulled it from the Titanic. This car and a Titanic, yep, same decade. Don't even ask questions. I also took out this metal section that was for it's like right above the passenger floorboard. It's in not very awesome shape, but I media blasted it and it looks a hell of a lot better. So it's not great, but you kind of need this because it's structurally ties in things, so I'm gonna keep that. And then this is the gauge cluster. Oof, pretty rough looking here. So I think I'm actually gonna take this off if I can, and I don't know if I'm gonna media blast this or if I'm gonna use some evaporust on it. I don't know what this is either. It almost looks like a regulator of some kind, so I don't know if that comes with a circuit board typically or what the deal is with that. But yeah, everything is mega corroded. Not surprised at all that pretty much nothing was working. No big surprises here. I guess in the meantime, while I'm waiting for stuff, I don't know how much of it I'm gonna get to today, but I'm gonna start repainting some of this stuff. I'm definitely gonna make this look nicer. I have this whole post here with the light sockets and all that. I have a new one coming. I don't know about that one that's way over there on the side. I may have to get one separately for that. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I have pretty much everything on the way. So at this point, it's really just kind of like getting stuff nice in preparation for getting all the electronics, and then I can start putting everything back together. So I think that's it for me for the day. And then, I don't know, we'll just see how much time I have. There's a lot to do. I'm gonna try to get all this electronic stuff done, or as much of it as humanly possible done before next weekend. And then maybe we can throw this door back on. I kind of want to wait now for this door until all this stuff is done, because the door's just gonna get in the way at this point, and it's gonna just make it more difficult. So there's the whole rear axle, which I'm still waiting on the shop to call me back about that. So hopefully that's all good. I still have the leaf springs and the shocks and all that to do. I'm mostly just concerned about getting electronic stuff done, and it's fresh in my mind. For the other stuff, I don't really care too much. It's not like hard to figure out. This stuff, there's a little more small pieces and I'm not super familiar with it, so I'm trying to kind of like do this all at once instead of kind of like spreading myself too thin on other projects and getting confused and losing parts and all that stuff. That's the old one, and then this goes in like that. This is the new one. Pretty big difference, I'd say. Nice fresh switch. Good positive click in there. Connectors are all shiny. It's always good to see. All right. She's in there. All right, I got the old one out, completely removed. Here it is in all of its crusty glory. That's just one more crusty component removed. Feels so good to get that stuff out of there. Doesn't that look so much better already? It just warms your heart to see it. I've been getting quite a bit done lately. Just a bunch of little things. I've been all over the place. I have this whole table covered in dash stuff, and things are kind of taken apart in various degrees. These bezels even popped off, so I'm gonna have to re-glue those, but I'm gonna kind of like make everything look incrementally better before I put everything back together. And I'm waiting on some parts. I have a new one of these coming in, with the one with that broken stud on it. I got a new one coming in with some extra parts. I have the new circuit board here, so that's all ready to go. I got the new dash regulator, or voltage regulator. I already have a bunch of bulbs and stuff, I remembered. There's a noise suppressor, I even got an extra one of those. That also goes on a dash on a circuit. There's some bulbs and sockets. These are the original ones, and I got some replacements. I had to double check before I went and ordered it. Glad I did. I let the ammeter kind of soak. Where'd I put that? Oh, right here. I let this soak in some Evaporust and it looks nice and new. I did super glue the insulating isolator. I super glued that back together so I can use it if I need to, but I do have an extra one on the way. All of the switches are back in the car. I still need the washer switch, but that's also on the way. So I got the bulbs and sockets for the idiot lights on there. I think I already showed that. I also, in the meantime, painted the steering column, so that looks good. Painted this little bit right here. I am in the process of just repainting these. I'm gonna do these satin black. I'm not even gonna do like the unpolished steel outline thing. I think it looks more clean like this, just satin black. It looks pretty sinister, if you will. And then for my grab handle, these are always in bad shape, and you may or may not be able to tell in the camera right now. It's kind of on the dark side here, but there's a couple cracks in it as usual. But I figured I would make this black for a couple reasons. One, it's gonna hide those cracks really well, and two, it's gonna match with the trim pieces that I'm painting. So the interior is really gonna look pretty spiffy. Good news, I have the radiator in place. I got the fans on here also. As you can tell, it's quite the cozy fit here. There's just enough room here with the water pump pulley, well, and the crank pulley. Down there where it looks like it's really close is actually just a wiring, so that'll be tucked out of the way a little bit. It's actually a decent amount of room, maybe 1.5 inches or so right here at the closest. So that should allow for enough room to move back and forth the engine. It's on polyurethane motor mount, so it shouldn't really move a whole lot. But I think that this will be sufficient, or at least I really hope so. I'm gonna find out pretty quick. I have my sockets in here. I have everything in here that I need, all the gauge stuff here. Speedometer never moved. The regulator is back in place, hopefully with the prongs making proper contact. Noise suppressor is on there pretty firmly. Okay, well, it's pretty much put together. I have one screw that I'm missing. This is too big, so not sure what I did exactly. Probably used the wrong screws or something. I'll figure it out though. But that's pretty much it. It's back together. It has all the new components in the back. All the important stuff anyways. So that looks good. I like that. I just got back the axle from the differential shop. Like I said, it looks exactly the same. Except for they just basically took the covers off the drum brakes to obviously do the one-piece axles. So these are the one-piece axles in there now. Oh boy, I better be careful. Oh my god, it actually feels a lot tighter, so that's good. I bet you that I bet you the limited slip in there was probably messed up, because there's like no slop or anything. Like, this actually feels pretty tight. So I didn't ask them actually what they set the preload for this at or anything. I don't even know if they made any adjustments or tried to make it a little bit tighter than normal, but I don't know. It's all done. 373 gears are in there, but obviously it still looks like crap, right? So I'm gonna take the wire wheel on the drill that I like to use so much, and I'm just gonna go over this whole thing and try to at least knock off like a lot of that heavier rust. I'm a little worried that the differential cover is gonna be a little thin. So who knows what's gonna happen there. But anyways, I'm gonna try to clean this up. I have some chassis paint from VHT, I think it is, and I'm gonna spray the whole thing down with it and just make it look like not crap. That's pretty much the goal. Okay, so I have all the rough stuff off of there. Now I'm actually going to use some of the stuff I forgot that I have. It's Metal Prep by POR 15, and it removes a lot of that surface rust and everything. So I'm gonna let that get on there and kind of soak and do its thing. Maybe I'll scrub around on it or whatever, but I'm gonna let that kind of take off what's left here, try to, and then after that I'll apply the paint and hopefully we'll be good. I finally have the last couple pieces that I'm gonna need for getting everything back together for the electrical system, I think. All right, so I just threw the switches back in there because I do have all of those. Now I'm going to take the dash and I'm gonna start plugging in stuff on the dash and I'm gonna see if we get any action here. Well, the dash is sitting in here. Everything is plugged in except for the speedometer cable at the moment. I am going to plug in this fuse here. I had the fuse sitting right here. Whew. Sweating. New fuse is in. I'm a little afraid. Positive cable is on. Not super tight, but it's on. Oh, I hear buzzer. Got lights under here. Got the dome light. That's a very good sign. That means I did that part right. Oh, let's check this out. Okay, headlights are on. Uh-oh. Still don't think I have any dash lights for some reason. I may still be. I don't think that I would be making the fuse pop still, but could be wrong. Maybe it doesn't come on if the key's not on. Hold on a second. Okay, now that's on. Nope, still nothing. Huh. Interesting. I don't know if that relay or regulator, whatever that is, has anything to do with this or not, but it seems like I'm still having issues here. Either that or this dimmer switch isn't working. Well, that was depressing. So the dashboard lights still aren't working, or at least they weren't. So I pretty much gave up on this and I was just gonna end the entire video. And I was just gonna let somebody else take care of it because I was honestly stumped. But the next day I actually came and I did a little bit more troubleshooting. I kind of came back with a clear head and tried a couple different things, and I'm glad that I did. Let me show you what was going on here. I've done a couple things since then, so it already looks different, but I basically took everything back apart again. Including the dimmer switch that you see hanging here. And it turns out that this harness that goes to the back of the dimmer switch was actually loose or not on all the way. So I was having a problem there. I actually put a test light on it, and the first time I had the test light on it, I was showing power, and then I must have moved it just a little bit and it wasn't showing any power at all again. So it turns out it was just that harness back there, this little black piece right here. And I may replace this. I think I do actually have a replacement. I'm gonna take a look at that amongst some other things. So what happened was I put that back tight and everything, and I kind of went through everything again, and I actually did get dash lights this time. Anyways, I'm gonna quit talking. I'm gonna put all this back together. I'm gonna prove to you this works. Okay, I have the gauge sitting in the car right now. Everything's connected, but it's just sitting there. Same with the dimmer switch. and a few other things. And then I actually did the same with the turn signals up here. They're kind of just sitting on that lower radiator support. And then the headlights, these are LED headlights, but regular turn signals in the front. I have the LED turn signals and taillights in the back. I'm going to connect the battery now, and I'm gonna check everything. This is the first time I've tried to check headlights also, so I don't really know what's gonna happen with that. It's kind of been a hit or miss, so let's just see what happens. Okay, I'm turning, it's the parking light, I think it is. Oh, I see headlights. Oh, nice. Oh, and I got parking lights in the front, sweet. Damn, those are bright. That's awesome. Okay, I got the lights in the back. She's alive! Here, let's try the turn signals, see if anything happens. I don't think anything's happening with the turn signals. That may be the flashers that I have. I actually bought a separate backup because I'm not really sure what's going on with that. Okay, now gauge lights. That's dim. That's all the way up. It's kind of hard to see in this light right now. Let me turn this off. Kind of on the dim side. I'm not really sure if that's because of the battery or draw somewhere else or anything like that, but I'm gonna go ahead and start connecting stuff back up. I'm actually gonna try, let's see, try not to touch these over here on the ammeter, because a lot of voltage runs through that and I don't want to feel it. I should probably be more excited than I am, but I have pretty much all the lights except for the turn signals in the back. The parking lights are working, so that's good. That means the reverse lights should work once it's all connected, but I don't have the transmission or neutral safety switch or anything connected. So, but either way, I'm probably just gonna put everything back together for the dash, and then that's gonna be like 90% of my electrical work. So kind of a sigh of relief from me. Okay, I have hazards in the front. I have hazards in the back, but one thing is, when I turn off the hazards, let's see, and then I try to turn on turn signal, I have nothing. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on. I tried switching the flashers and stuff and that didn't seem to work, so I don't know if something's going on to this turn signal switch, but I literally just replaced this when I did all the column stuff, so unless I installed it wrong, I'm not entirely sure what's going on. I do know that it switches both ways. It does cancel when you turn a wheel and all that, so I'm not really sure. I'm not really worried about it. I'm gonna start throwing all this stuff back together and then we're gonna call it good. Obviously, I still had to figure out the turn signal issue. Dashboard still needs to go back together all the way. And then there seems to be like a problem where it doesn't go all the way back down to like nothing. The lights like kind of stay dim a little bit and get brighter instead of going all the way down. I think that probably has something to do with the LEDs, because there's less draw basically on the circuit. So I'm gonna have to figure that out too, but these things are minor in comparison to basically just getting this whole thing sorted out in the first place. We started trying to figure out what was going on with the turn signals. We did find out that the sockets for the reverse lights were wired like backwards basically. The black, which you'd think would be ground, was actually the feed wire for some reason. And then the white was the ground. I've never seen that before, but anyways, we got that part figured out and it's still doing the same exact thing. I'm actually blowing a fuse every single time I connect the battery. As soon as I connect the battery, the fuse blows, and I still haven't figured it out. I just don't want to buy a probe for like $200 to use it one time. So that's pretty much what's holding me up right now, I guess. Well, we're gonna kind of have to look at everything. Neither one of us have really done anything like this exactly, so we're gonna have to figure out the order of getting the leaf springs in with the Calvert traction bars and all that good stuff too. So we'll get it figured out, maybe. Okay, Randy's over here trying to figure out all the Calvert stuff. We're kind of just going over the instructions here and trying to make sense of it. There's some of the stuff I'm gonna have to be sandblasting. I need to like clean it up and get it looking nice, paint it before we can start putting everything back together. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. But he's basically just setting things out, making sense of it, laying it out the way it's supposed to be. Anyways, I'm gonna let Randy do his thing, and I'm gonna continue cleaning up some parts and getting them painted. I painted some of the stuff that we're gonna need for the leaf springs here, the shackles. I'm not sure if that's the technical correct term for those, but got those and the U-bolts painted up. I media blasted them and painted them, so they're actually in pretty nice shape. Randy got most of this figured out over here. I did just kind of mock up the gauges. Finally, I extended all those wires like I was talking about, so now they're probably way too long, but it's roughly in here. I still need to mount everything at the top here, but I'm gonna wait until the rest of this kind of goes back together. I just wanted to get those in before I put the rest of it back in, because it's basically impossible to feed the wires down to the underdash area unless you have all this apart, or at least the dash pad off. So that's all good now. Now we need to figure out what we're gonna do to actually move the axle to the back. I think we're just gonna put it on the jack, keep it nice and low, and then if we have to, we'll use some ratchet straps or something to like keep it steady as we lift it up or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Randy and I were successful in getting everything up here. He kind of just balanced it as I lifted it up, and then I got the rear shackles on there, so that should be good. Then we lifted it up just a little bit so we could kind of get everything where we needed it for the shocks. So we're working on getting the shocks all the way mounted. Then we're gonna get the brake lines back on, and a couple other things I'm probably forgetting, and then that's pretty much it. We can put the wheels back on and get it back on the ground. I have obviously 8,000 different projects going on. This is probably the messiest this garage has ever been. I have the seat, sliders, headers, boxes, electrical stuff is torn apart over here, doors over here, all the extra parts are sitting over there, rear ends basically like half disassembled. Things are kind of crazy around here right now. My plan is with this, now that I've been kind of like looking into it a little bit, is to run all the gauges as a series. So it's just all three come on with the same power source. I don't know how to do that just yet. So that's going to be interesting. I think I'm just going to have to take like all the power stuff and then like solder them into like one main power wire that goes to the fuse board, but I don't know. I'll figure that part out later. It stresses me out just thinking about it. This is the new list. Some of these things are the same, a lot of it's different. All right, Randy and Ivan have arrived. We went over that plan for the wiring here. I'm glad I got my COVID shot because Ivan's dying over here. But he's figuring out the wiring for the gauges. Seems to be doing a lot quicker than I probably would be. I'm trying to finish what Randy started, which is the MSD wiring. So we got it coming through the grommet, through the firewall there, and I'm trying to route it as best I can. I'm probably gonna end up making this better at some later point. I just want to keep it away from the headers right now. So I'm getting everything to the front here, and I'm gonna figure out some of the wiring here in just a second. And then Randy, here's his butt. Here's Randy's butt.
I was gotta get a butt shot of Randy.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm double caked up.
He's taking the rear speakers out of the tray package. He's taking the speakers out, the old ones. They're nice and deteriorated. So he's getting those out. The plan is, it's kind of covered right now, but we're gonna try to put the unit in the actual compartment thing.
Unit.
Just can't say anything around these guys. So we're gonna put the unit, hashtag unit, right in the middle thing over here, and then Randy's basically gonna run speaker wires. I think we're just gonna go under the door sills.
Why don't you go under the carpet?
Because the carpet's glued down.
Well, who the hell glued the carpet down?
That's what you're supposed to do. Anyways, we're gonna get the speakers in hopefully, and then we can at least get most of that wiring done. I don't think that the stereo is gonna be too complicated. Should be easier than most of the other stuff, at least. All right, well, I'm gonna get started on this MSD stuff and hopefully get it wired appropriately. Well, we got a lot done. There's a lot of wiring madness. It looks really crazy now.
Wiring does that.
Like, just taking apart the stereo stuff, you know, we got like a trunk full of boxes, assorted boxes and whatnot, and we're still trying to figure out. I mean, Randy pretty much got all the speaker wiring routed for the most part, and then I'll do kind of the finishing touches on that. I'm trying not to get anything too final just yet because I know I'm gonna have to move things around a lot, and I don't really know entirely how everything's gonna be in here permanently. But yeah, there's all the wiring. I even did the wiring for the gauges, got that all sorted out. I still gotta find a place for the ground and get that all situated. There's the module for the air fuel ratio gauge. It's way back in there. Gotta get that mounted. We figured out how this needs to be wired for the fans, so that'll be one of the things I'll be doing next. The MSD stuff, I had Randy kind of route it through and got everything almost all the way plugged in until I realized I was using the wrong instructions. Ivan helped me realize that. There's a wire that actually goes to the distributor that need to be connected, and it was already pretty much full going through the tiny little hole that we made in the firewall, so I need to order a bigger drill bit for that so I can put a bigger grommet and fit all of the cables through there that need to fit, and then that'll be all connected. And I think, oh god, it's just, I don't even want to look at the inside of the car.
It was nice and neat.
That's what I'm talking about. Ah, finally. God. Well, as you can see, I finally have the tail lights working, turn signals, hazards, brake lights. The headlights and front turn signals and all that stuff already work, or I should say they still work. I don't know. I think there's actually kind of like a loose wire in there somewhere under the dash, so it would probably be smart to fix that at some point. But right now I'm just trying to verify that everything's working, so I'm not gonna dive too deep into that right now, but all the dash stuff is working. Basically now at this point, all I'm doing, and I'm not gonna talk too long because I have the battery still hooked up and everything, but I have all the wiring down here kind of somewhat figured out, and I can't remember if I showed these or not. I have what is called a chair terminal. Didn't know these existed, but this slides onto the existing terminal and then gives you two more little guys out of there. So I kind of figured that would probably be the neatest way I could possibly do this instead of like really hacking things and making it worse than it already is. So I'm gonna connect all my gauge stuff using those chair terminals, and then I should be pretty much good to go on that. You already saw that the lights were working and everything, but I kind of figured out that the fuse panel itself is okay. So there was really no reason for me to even change out the fuse panel. I just was under the impression that something was wrong with the fuse panel that was giving me a bad connection. I thought it was the actual terminal for the hazard lights. It turns out it's the actual wire leaving the terminal that kind of seems to have a bad connection. So I guess I have a replacement fuse panel, so that's never really a bad thing. It's just I didn't really need to get it in the first place. So bad on me, but whatever. So I have an extra fuse panel. All right, so I have everything connected to the fuse panel now. Everything should be good. We're gonna test it out and we're gonna see if this thing works. All right, so this is where they are. Got the key in the ignition. And that's in the on position. I should say I think that's a run position. Actually, that's the run position. Nice. Okay, cool. So let's see, turn it off. Okay, they work. Now that all the gauge stuff is pretty much done, I did tuck away some of the stuff. There's like the module for the AFR gauge. I kind of have it mocked up where I want it. I still have to do a lot of wire neatifying. Now I'm on to the MSD box stuff. So if you remember, the hole going through the firewall wasn't quite as big as I needed it to be. So I got myself a little Amazon drill bit here. It's a hole saw. Hopefully this will cut through okay. It's supposed to be for metal. I don't know. I don't think I've ever actually used a hole saw on metal before, if that tells you where I'm at on stuff like this. Okay, so that's not gonna work. I started putting back the dashboard. Man, 70s malaise era is just something else, man. I don't know what to say about it, but it's especially bad when it's 50 years old. Got brother Randy over here. We just spent a little bit of time getting the leaf springs, the new ones in, and it's still pretty close to the front. It's a little dark, so you may not be able to tell. Let me get some extra light here really quick. Now at least it's like, you know, a couple inches. Yeah, stick your finger in there. There you go. Before I couldn't even really stick a finger in there. That's how bad it was. So at least now there's a little bit of room where it's not gonna rub or do anything stupid when it's actually on the road, bouncing around or whatever. It's still sitting really high. These are standard height springs, and even with these 28-inch tall tires, they're still like a good 3 or 4 inches above the tire. And I don't know, I'm not really sure. That could just be the suspension needing to settle and all that good stuff. So I'm not gonna look into that too much right now.
Make an angry because it's not easy face.
There has been a lot of work done recently. On the last episode, you saw a lot about what was going on with the electrical stuff, the wiring, the leaf springs was a whole debacle. That was a big thing. All that finally got taken care of. We have the car back down on the ground. It's somewhat well centered now for the rear axle. Gauges are in. A lot of things are figured out, but there's still a lot of loose ends that need to be sorted out before the transmission is done and put back into the car. As far as wiring goes, there's still more to be done. Still, I need to get the MSD stuff kind of where it needs to go. And then I also need to get a lot of the wiring completed for the sound system. I'm actually gonna do the sound system, I think, right now. I need to figure out how everything is gonna get wired through the firewall. So that's kind of why I decided I wanna actually get the sound system stuff done now, so I can get the power for that and all the MSD wiring stuff all through together in the firewall, and then kind of just, you know, let that part be done. You can kind of see that there's a little bit to this. It's not super difficult. I think most of it is just the actual speakers. This shouldn't be bad. I just gotta make sure I'm paying attention. So I'm gonna get off this goddamn GoPro. Yeah, that goes to the battery. So that's gonna need to be extended. There's gonna be a red that needs to be ignition, 12 volt. That will go to the fuse panel. Let's see, there's a black that's gonna need to go to a chassis ground somewhere. Everything else is going to speakers, so this shouldn't be too bad. Okay, about 12 crimp connectors later, I think I got everything. Matched up all the wires to the appropriate wires on the harness. Got everything here, I think. I got this connected to the remote. I extended a ground to go to where my ground is for the AFR gauge. Let's see, I got the 12 volt switched ignition on the fuse panel. I have the power that I extended out to the battery. That'll be connected last. I believe I have everything. The ground is the most important. This is actually for the antenna for the Bluetooth. It took me a minute to realize that's what it meant by antenna. I think that's pretty much everything. Yeah, put power to it and see what happens, I guess. Okay. All right, no fires so far. Let's get this good old shot, see what happens. Okay, ignition keys on. There we go. Lights on the keypad. Okay, now I can get to the good stuff. Let's see here. So I should be ready for, okay, Boss Audio. It's in here. Sweet. Okay, it says it's connected. I am going to play, this is cool because I'm a musician, so I get to play my own music. YouTube better not give me trouble. This is my music. Let's see here. Let's test it out. Whoa. Dude, that's actually pretty loud. I want to make some adjustments. So one of the things that kind of sucks is you don't really have like onboard EQ settings. So if you want to be able to do that, you got to do that in whatever program you're actually using. So thankfully Spotify actually has some EQ settings I discovered. So let me see if I can check that out really quick here. I can add some bass in here because I can tell that it's not super bassy. They have a bass booster. I just got done testing out some other music that I really like. Obviously can't play that on my channel, but dude, it sounds really good. I am really surprised. This is pretty damn loud. One of the really cool things is I get to keep the factory radio in there and stuff, and nobody can even tell that there's this aftermarket sound system. I'm gonna have to like put this all in there, tuck it in there, kind of make things look nice. Other than that, it's all wired up the way it's supposed to be, so I guess I was right. It was a pretty easy installation. Randy helped me out with the routing of the wires and everything, but yeah, super easy, sounds great. Really happy I did that. Maybe you'll see a little bit of light coming through there. That's the new 1-inch hole that I made. I used one of these Hobo Freight grommets to kind of seal it up. It's in there, looks good. I'm gonna start putting a bunch of wires through there. The first thing will be the power for the radio, since I already have that done. I'm gonna try to put like some of the bigger stuff through there first to make sure everything actually fits through, and then kind of like finalize it as I go. Now, I believe I have everything wired up. I'm not entirely sure. I do have the power connected again. Let me make sure I have that correct. I might have killed the battery, I don't know. No, battery's good. Dome's just not working for some reason. MSD light is coming on. It's flashing. Not sure what that means. I think I have everything wired up completely. For some reason, my dome light's not working, which is weird, but I'm gonna take a look at a couple things here. The only thing that I did do really that changed was I believe both of these are supposed to be going to the positive terminal, at least they were. And it says right here, from ignition key, original coil positive wire going to the red, which is what this is. So that should be correct. It's way too much wire on there. I kind of just have things wired up. I want to just kind of see if things are working before I get too crazy, but that's the only thing that I really changed. I don't know how any of that would affect the dome light. Seems odd. I'm not really sure. I guess I'm just tripping. Dome light's working. I don't know. I'm losing it, guys. I'm losing it. I believe everything with the MSD is properly connected. It is flashing to show that it's on. It's just I'm not really going to know if it's doing everything until I get the starter connected and all that, which I have to wait for the transmission to be done because it mounts to the transmission. Randy and I are both here at the shop. Say hi, Randy.
Hi, Randy.
Oh yeah, this one doesn't even have a hook on it anymore.
Damn, let me get close in on that knot hook.
Whoa! There's no hook! We're gonna lose the show.
this pin was supposed to be going this way instead of this way, but we couldn't get it going this way, so we went this way, and then of course it's popping out too far, so the spring can't sit in its position right here. As you can see, that's where you just cut it. So now I can fit this onto here, just not one-handed. So I'm gonna do that, and then Dan's gonna do more stuff with the door, I'm assuming, and then and then we might have a door on.
Yeah, hopefully. Alrighty, Randy and I did get the door back on, and we fought it quite a bit, tried to adjust it a lot, and well, it's just not really adjusting the way that I want to. As you can see, it actually looks, it's like inset here in the top, actually quite a bit. I think that, I think it's kind of just going out of adjustment a little bit. Not really sure what's going on with it, but we did have it up quite a bit here in the back, and I tried to tighten it down, and it ended up sagging back down anyways. So not entirely sure what to do with that just yet, but I was able to get the striker lined up with a latch, but for some reason the secondary latch doesn't really want to work very well. When you do get it shut, it doesn't really want to get back open. So I'm pretty much just letting the primary latch do its thing and then just leaving it alone. So I'm gonna just ignore this for now, because I really don't think there's anything else I can do besides ignore it. Randy and I have been busy putting body panels back on the car. This is a different problem altogether. I have like 8 inches of space for some reason between the fender and the actual tire. So I'm probably gonna end up at some point taking that spring out completely and just cutting it down, because I don't have the money to be buying custom springs and stuff right now. So I mean, I'm just gonna cut it, and then at some point I'll get like coilovers or something on it, so do it the right way. Got the fender on, got the grill. It's mostly on. There's still some like under pieces that need to go back together and all that stuff. Got one of the headlights in, got the other fender up. It's starting to look like a car again, guys. I got the freshly painted bumper supports back on, and as you can see, the bumper is on, and it's not painted like I was hoping. I did try to straighten out everything as best as I could without the bumper actually being on. It's arguable whether I actually did anything to help at all or not. This side fits pretty close to what it's supposed to look like from the factory, which wasn't really great to begin with, but it is decent, and then this side is just pretty bad. Once I got it apart, I could tell where the actual damage happened. It actually looks like it bumped into the bumperette, and it kind of like pushed it in here. So it's still technically right in the middle, but it's caved in here right in the middle. So in order to get this right, you'd have to bend this out, I believe, and kind of try to like push this side back. And I tried to do a couple things, like with this wood block. I propped it up there and tried to like bend it up, because it is bent down a little bit, it seems also. So I tried to bend it back up, try to push it back, and there's really not a lot you can do without the proper equipment, I'm thinking. So that was kind of a wash, but it is on there. I do have some more bolts, some more hardware that could go on, but I'm just gonna kind of not worry about this for the time being. I was hoping that we were going to be doing the transmission installation today, but I don't think that we're actually going to be doing that. I think that Ivan's still trying to wrap up a couple things on a transmission. It's taking a minute, but you know, the guy works a full-time job and he's got stuff to do, so you can't really get too mad about it. Nobody forced him to do it either, so there's that. In the meantime, he did bring over the headers. I'm gonna get these media blasted and try to get these all cleaned up and then get it ready for ceramic coating. one header is done. Took me like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. Not really sure why this took so long, but that one's done. There's a little bit of paint left here and there, but it's brought down enough that the ceramic coating will stick pretty good. So I'm gonna let that ride. Now I just have one more to do, so just another 2 hours maybe, and I'll finally be done with these. Anyways, Randy's actually coming over. He's gonna help me get the headers over here onto the car. They actually look pretty cool. We had some trouble with the driver's side. We tried to use the Rem Flex gasket. It got squished a couple times, and we ended up using the one that comes with the headers. So hopefully that'll hold up okay. Things look pretty good, and pretty happy with it. It's a new day. I'm back here at the shop for a little bit. I got the carburetor on, and I kind of just mocked up some stuff. It looks really good. I kind of like got rid of some of the dust, and you know, it still looks pretty bad. I got the carburetor on. Now I have to actually start doing a lot of the linkage related stuff. So I already had all this stuff, thankfully. I ordered this like months ago, but I have a low car throttle cable, kick down, and a low car bracket for the actual carburetor. So as you can see here, I've already started just a little bit. This is the bracket, so you can use everything, the throttle and the kick down. And right here is the actual kick down cable. There's a couple little fittings you got to put together on your throttle linkage and everything, but so far it's been pretty easy. I'm only about 15 minutes into this whole thing. Very straightforward with instructions, as long as you actually look at them. It actually took me a minute to get that kick down on there, but I did end up figuring it out pretty easily, all things considered. I did put the throttle cable on afterwards as well, and that one took a little bit more modification so far. I had to do a little bit of trimming to make it the right length and everything, but I do have it on there. I don't know if you can see, there we go. I am gonna get that shifter installed, and then I think that's gonna be it for part 6 of the road to roadworthiness. Let me turn the light on here. So you can see this is back in the car. This time it's bolted up. I have the faceplate on there just for looks right now. So I did get the green lights to match the dash. Oh, that seems like harder to say than it should be. But I got it in there. It looks super freaking cool. Let's see, let's get these close here. If you haven't watched the other videos that I did about these seats, you should check that out, because I found these on eBay. These are super cheap aftermarket seats, and I made an adapter plate so you can use these with the factory sliders, which really in the long run makes things a lot easier, because these bolt right into the original holes in the floorboard. So you don't have to do any permanent changes to the floorboard for the seating if you do it this way. It's really nice. I actually have the blueprint also, so if you have a 71 through 74 Javelin and you want to use these seats specifically, just let me know and I'll give you the blueprint for it, and you can bring it somewhere where they cut metal and they'll cut it for you. Going down. Alright, I finally have 2 seats in my car, so this is pretty cool. This is a milestone. Dang. You have a pretty good amount of leg room with this all the way back. I like that. It's a cool view sitting over here, just checking out everything. Eventually I'll have a car seat here, and I can enjoy the car with my little girl. That's gonna be really cool. I'm really looking forward to that, actually. I still have to do the fuel lines. I'm just putting it off like as long as I possibly can. Because I've never really done it before, and I just don't feel... It's so easy compared to a lot of the other things that I've done, I think, but I just don't have very much confidence about it, so I'm kind of just waiting, but I'll get around to it eventually. I feel like I never got you up to speed on what was happening with the fuel lines. I originally had a stainless steel fuel line. That's this one laying over here across everything. And we never were really able to figure out how that was supposed to route. There's no diagrams. I couldn't find any pictures. There's really nothing. So what we ended up doing was I got some, I can't remember if it was brake line or fuel line, whatever, but it's just cheap metal line. And we started kind of like forming it, or I should say Ivan started forming it and running it along the bottom of the car. And at the time I didn't have enough clamps to really fasten it to the bottom of the car, so he did like 3 or 4 and kind of like roughly got it where it needs to be, and then that was it. Ever since, it's basically just been sitting. The main part though is the back of the car. I need to kind of make sure that it makes sense. Yeah, it's coming up on this side. Right now it's just coming over the axle and then dangling right here, but it needs to come over like alongside the subframe, and then there's like a little nipple there you can see. You can see the nipple poking out. Anyways, that's where the line needs to go roughly. I need to do rubber though, going from that nipple to the actual hard line. So once I have everything roughed up to where I need it to be, then I can start worrying about the rubber lines, but not until then. So I noticed that underneath there's a few clips already in there. They're kind of on a small side, but they're holding the brake lines already. So I think what I'm gonna do is find a slightly bigger one, and I'm gonna put the fuel line in with it. But first, safe, glass. All right, I got everything tightened to right here. This is a little suspension stop right there. I think I'm gonna cut it just a little behind it, and then I'm gonna kind of let it dangle. You can't really see from right here, but it's fastened like right over here, like behind this. So it's not like flopping around or anything. But I need to get this to a point where I can actually cut this and possibly flare it. So it's been a really long time since I've even done that. So I'm gonna have to try my luck here on that, but that's the next thing I have to do, and then it's pretty much ready to have the little rubber piece installed, and then it's good on this side. Let's get under here really quick. I got this is the line for the fuel going back along the subframe rail, I guess you could call it. Got the rubber hose in here going to the fuel pump. Should be all good. I put some Teflon tape here on the threads for the MPT fitting. This is the AN fitting down here going up to the carburetor. That's pretty much it, I think. There's actually a couple brackets I'm probably gonna still put in here. This does have some play in it still, so I should probably at least do one, just make sure this doesn't flop around or get into something it shouldn't get into. Finally. God. I got the converter in there. It's all ready to go, so we'll just throw this back up in there, get the starter on, get the cooling lines on, shifter cable, all that crap, and hopefully we can get this thing started. I'm crossing my fingers. I'm pretty close on a lot of things here. We just got to get over here and just start doing stuff. It is Sunday, almost noon. Pizza's on the way. Ivan's on his way. We're gonna try to make some progress today, like some real progress. All right, so Ivan and I got started on getting the transmission in there. We got it bolted up to the engine pretty quickly. Between Randy, myself, and Ivan, we've done this like 7 times now, so we're pretty much professionals. Everything's here. I checked the clearance with the converter to the flex plate, and it's 0.175, which is perfect. If I took one block plate out, it would not be enough clearance. So it's right where it needs to be. We got the transmission bolted up again, and we have verified that it actually does spin now, the transmission. So drive shaft is connected. Now we're connecting a lot of the things from the transmission to the other components that need to be connected, like the trans cooler and shift linkage and kick down and all that stuff. And then we can get fluid in there and hopefully get it started up.
Yep.
So we'll see. Okay, so we have everything connected. I'm really excited and really scared, but we think that we got everything connected, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna just try starting it, at least for a little bit. We only put like 4 or 5 quarts of transmission fluid in, so
Plus whatever was in the converter.
yeah, so there's like maybe 5 or 6 quarts in it. So we're gonna start it, let it run, hopefully for a few seconds, just turn it off, see if there's any obvious leaks, and then just add more transmission fluid. And
because the power steering is gonna blow itself up.
yeah, yeah, that's not looking too good. Anything? Fuel? Got spark.
Got fuel now. I can see it in the float bowl.
Man, I want my Corvette sound like that.
Well, we gotta put an AMC engine in it then.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, now we're about to start it up again. We just checked the clearance of making sure that something isn't going to be rubbing against the steering, I guess. Messing with timing. Here we go. It's still just the shit burning off the headers, I'm pretty sure.
Why did it just hit? Or why did it start? Guys, I'm sorry. I haven't been doing a very good job at documenting some of the things that have been happening lately. Yesterday we did record some stuff and it was just kind of spotty here and there. Andy actually did pretty much all the recording that was done. I'm gonna be leaving the shop at the end of this month. So as of today, I have just a little over 3 weeks to get the car out, all my tools, and whatever else I'm actually gonna be bringing with me back to my house, to that shed that is my new workshop. So I'm gonna be doing that. First thing is just getting the car out of here. It's the biggest thing, and it's just gonna be so much easier to move all my stuff without the car here. So that's what we're gonna be trying to do today. All right, guys. Well, I got the car back home. You saw me drive part of it. It was very dark outside. What ended up happening is I pulled into the gas station there and I ran out of gas, and the gas station had no gas at all. They're like renovating the pump or the tank in the ground or whatever, so they didn't have any gas, and I ran out of gas. Randy had to bring me a couple of gallons. I ended up making it home, so the car is here. Oh. I had this in drive, which is on the shifter it shows it as 3, which is just drive. So I had it in drive, and I'm like, for some reason this feels really laggy, like something's going on, and I couldn't figure it out for a minute. I would just take off and it's like really sluggish doggy off the line, and I wasn't trying to do anything crazy. I wasn't gonna like get out and rip a burnout or anything right away, but something was going on, and I realized that instead of starting in first like it should in drive, it was starting in third, which I know we made some adjustments. We made some modifications to the valve body so it can be used manually or automatic, but it should go into the first. It should go into first gear when you put it into third or drive, and it's not. So something's going on. Maybe the governor, maybe something in the valve body itself. I'm hoping it's not like any of the actual mechanical internals of the transmission itself, but I need to get around to doing that. There's a couple checks I can do before like ripping the whole transmission back out or anything crazy like that. Guys, there's just been so much going on with the Javelin. So much, but so little at the same time. I've been kind of fighting a lot of these issues that are going on here. I'm still having issues with first and reverse just not working very well. So it's been a huge headache for me. I can't even begin to tell you how much this is just really pissing me off. And I've spent hours trying to figure out what's going on with it. There's still some checks that can be done. I'm done with it. I don't want to touch it anymore. I don't want to spend any more money on it. Ivan said that he would come over and he wants to take a look at it, maybe drive it around a little bit and see what he can figure out about it. But as of right now, I don't know what's wrong with it. It could be an adjustment somewhere. It could be piston somewhere, a check ball in the wrong place, or missing a check ball, or something's frozen up somewhere. I have no idea. So that brings me to my next point. I am working on getting rid of the automatic transmission altogether. So I'm looking into a T5 swap, where you take a T5 from a Mustang, you get all the stuff you need to make it work on an AMC V8, which is like a bell housing, you need a clutch, you need like the shift linkage, pedals, yada yada. So I'm working on that right now. I don't think I'm going to be driving this car anytime soon. I'm just over torque flights and the kickdown linkage crap and just adjustments being out of whack and everything. I'm tired of it. I wanted a manual transmission in the first place, so I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm well on my way to getting all the parts that I need for this manual swap. Things are going kind of quick now. Now that I've made the decision finally to just move forward with the manual swap, it's really moving. So I finally got some of the first pieces that I bought / ordered. This, I got such an amazing deal on this, and I think that, I can't remember the guy's last name, but his name is Jeff, pretty sure, and he hooked me up with these. I don't think that these are technically from a Javelin. I believe they're from like a smaller car, like a Gremlin or maybe a Spirit, but the only difference that I know of is that the pedals themselves are a little bit smaller. What I'm actually getting ready to do right now is I have my backpack here all set up, things massive. I'm getting it all set up because Randy and I are going to go to the pick and pull that's in the area. I already called ahead. They have a few Mustangs there that are likely candidates to have the transmission that I need. and we're gonna go there with a bunch of tools and stuff, and we're gonna see if we can get one. It should only cost me $200. That's the price they gave me, so this is working out really well so far. So far I've spent just over $1,000 on all the swap parts, basically almost everything except for the actual transmission itself. I got a slightly better than OEM clutch, which obviously isn't going to last very long, so there maybe is probably kind of like a limit on how long I should be driving this car around with this crappy clutch, but we'll get there. We're just trying to make this functional, and I just want to make it so I can have fun with the car, you know. We found a lot more Mustangs than we honestly thought we would find. They gave us a list of what they had, and there's only like 5 or 6 cars. There's actually like 15 or 20 Mustangs here, but this Mustang here, it's a 99, has a manual transmission, and I believe it's the only one here that has a transmission that we need. So we're gonna check a couple things if we can to see if we can tell if the transmission's any good or not. We're basically just gonna change the gears and then see if we can turn the wheels. I don't even know if that'll work, but I mean, really the only way you can check it is to get the whole transmission out and then like turn the input shaft and see if the output shaft is going. But we're just gonna see if we have any kind of luck here. So the transmission is out. Appears to be in decent shape. I did the input shaft check. Sounds like there might be a little bit of slop in there, but I don't really know. I'm not sure if I'm going to go through it ahead of time before we actually put it in the car or not. I mean, that would be the smart thing to do, but that's not what we really tend to do very often. So we'll just see. But I'm also going to grab the drive shaft out of this because I'm going to need this yoke, obviously, but then I need the specific part of the drive shaft here. Probably just going to have to cut it or whatever, and then get a new drive shaft made and balanced and all that good stuff. But we got it out of the car, so we're successful. You know I'm making progress when my hair's messed up and I might have a little bit of dirt or something on my face. I have everything done. I put the spark plug wires back on, I bolted up the header, the driver's side header again, I put the starter back on, the transmission is filled, drive shaft is on. Pretty much everything is done except for the backup lights, but I do believe that everything is bolted up to the point where I could test it out. I do need to put the exhaust back on, which is basically just 12 inches of exhaust pipe and like a 12-inch cherry bomb muffler on each side. So it's not really much of an exhaust, but I do need to put that on really quick. It's like 10 o'clock at night, so obviously I'm not going to start it tonight, but I think next time, I think here in about 5 seconds your time, you're going to see this car running. I don't think this is going to stick. There's no choke, so it's really cold-natured. Flywheel's balanced. I got a center force clutch on there now instead of the cheap OEM style clutch. Everything should be pretty much on the up and up. So let's take it around neighborhood a little bit here. Timing probably need a little bit of setting up still, needs to be dialed in. It's decent, but you can hear like a little bit of a bog when I stab the throttle. It's still running a little lean on the primaries too, so I'm probably gonna rejet it up just a little more. All kinds of weird vibrations going on. Tilt here. It does feel a lot smoother with this clutch. Oh yeah, it's so much smoother. One thing is I do have, ooh yeah, there's a lot of rubbing going on. Polyurethane motor mount, so that is going to be a factor in some of the vibration and whatnot that I feel. I'm gonna go in here. Oops. Yeah, I don't know if my power steering is kind of making like a slight groaning or if that's a steering box or what's going on, but there's something. You can hear it right there. I keep tripping the tires. Kinda gotta take it easy because I actually don't have a speedometer right now. And I realized earlier when I was getting gas that I don't even have an odometer because I don't have my speedometer cable, so I'm gonna have a real fun time keeping track of how much gas I have in this thing. $50 got me 9.5 gallons. Gotta love it. I think it's about 102 degrees outside right now, so that's fun. I'm expecting the camera to turn off from the heat pretty soon. But anyways, this is the first trip. What do you guys think? Besides the obvious issues, I think it's pretty cool. I mean, so far so good. Can't complain too much. Right at 180. Probably gonna go up here just sitting. Wish I had AC though. Idling at about 950. Oil pressure is about 40. I guess that's it for right now. If you like this video, please check out the other videos I've already done about this car. I've done about 50 of them or so. It's been a huge journey just getting to this point. There's a lot more to do still, like air conditioning. But please subscribe, leave a comment, share the video. Thanks a lot, guys. Later.